Ladies and gentlemen, it's Inside the IFL, episode 27. And today I'm with Mr. Ed Ritter and Mr. Chris Davis. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Good.
Doing real good.
Ed's sitting over there feeling real good and comfortable now that he's got his internet fixed after today, he hopes.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold my breath yet.
Oh, man. It is what it is, right?
That's right.
I went through that, if you remember, about a year and a half ago, something like that. So it wasn't fun. Internet always taking offline, kicking you out. But Ed's got all new refurbished equipment. I loved how you told me the guy told you nothing's new. It's all refurbished.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all right. Can you believe it? Week 8 is in the books. Week 8. Wow.
That's crazy. Week 8 already.
I still remember putting this all together and putting it, setting it all up, this, that, and the other, and being doubted it would ever take place. And here we are. So, but just a quick run through all 4 scores. Baltimore defeated Carolina 38-28. Boston was able to defeat Tampa Bay 17-9. Tokyo defeated New York 37-34, and the Outlaws were able to get past the Flight 24-20. For the most part, 4 very close games this week. So Every game except for one was a 1-score game, and the one that wasn't was only 10 points, and that ain't nothing to shy away from. So very good games across the board. So I don't care which one of you wants to go first, but of those games that took place this week, is there anything about any of those games that stood out to you the most over anything else?
All I can say is that I'm very proud of my team. The fact that you pushed the Outlaws to a 1-score game potentially could have taken the lead at the end. That was all well and good, but I think I said it on the everyday chat is that the one thing that Flight screwed themselves on was the simple fact of you didn't take advantage of the turnovers. The Outlaws turned the ball over 4 times, and in 4 opportunities you had a chance to score off of their mistakes, and you couldn't do it. So there would be that, and I'm not gonna really get too mad in a passing game, obviously, because 1, we don't pass the ball, and 2, both passing defenses were on point. It's just the running game happened. I mean, obviously, Doug, you pointed out best coming into the game, whichever team can outrun the other will win the game, and that was exactly the case.
Right. I mean,
heading into the second half, just like that, Doug Bowles breaks off like a 50, 60-yard touchdown. So, there you go. I mean,
look at the stats: 198 passing yards combined, but they combined for 516 rushing yards.
That's what I'm saying.
That's ridiculous.
So, you know what I mean? If anything, this game lived up to the hype. I had nothing left to lose, and the Outlaws had everything to lose. In the way how I see it, regardless of the fact that they're pretty much locking themselves into home field advantage for the playoffs, they pretty much had everything to lose because they would not only have one team as a target, which is the Kitsune, the only team that they lost to, but they will have the Flight on their heels. Honestly, the Flight can still be on their heels even because of the fact that we lost by 7 points. So, like I said, I'm just very proud of my team.
There you go. Ed, anything stood out to you?
How good Boston looked. That offense is starting to come. Marcus has got that offense starting to – I think he's starting to figure it out. I think he's still got a little bit more work to do to it, but I think if he tweaks it a little bit more, Boston might just be the team that people need to worry about.
Right. I want to point out, since we're talking about rushing yards just a moment ago, these were the rushing yards for all 8 teams this week, and I think you guys will quickly catch on to what I'm getting at. And I'm going to go in reverse order from worst to best. You had 62 yards, 63 yards. Then you had 96, 107. Okay, 107. You're like, all right, cool. Now listen to these next four numbers: 171, 190, 206, and 310. And Cody's letting us know he can't get the stream to work properly because YouTube's been, as he says, goofy for him all day.
Yeah, this morning I was on YouTube and then it wasn't working. And I know Chisholm had posted something into if YouTube was down for anybody else because it was down for him. And then it come back on, went off, come back on. And so far, since I got all my so-called new upgrade, it's been working. So
yeah, I've been off and on all day and haven't had no issues. Huh. That's weird. I can't say maybe it's the area because Cody and I live 5 minutes away from each other. So
right.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe I just happened to get lucky when I was on. That's fine, I guess. That sucks. Hopefully he can figure it out. And, YouTube might be doing their updates or something like that.
Who knows?
I mean, shit, they have a lot of improvement they need to do too. All right. Well, I'm going to go jump into these games. We kind of covered Philly, Arizona slightly by what we guys just said in Boston, Tampa Bay, but we'll go within the order where the games were ran this week. Baltimore and Carolina ended 38-28, and Carolina outgained them by 80 yards, but the turnovers killed them. Just killed them. Carolina, to me, could have and should have won that game, but can't turn the ball over. I think you guys can pretty much agree with that.
Yeah, the pick six got him.
Yep. 2 pick sixes killed us.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you don't see a pick six all that often, but 2 in one game by the same team. That was crazy.
Well,
so, yeah, Mighty's in the chat. Alex Starr's in the chat. Cody Ewing, Mark Chisholm, and Eric Green. Okay, welcome, Eric Green.
I'll be right back.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Eric
I can hear
Green.
it all in the background right now.
Yeah, his kids. Eric Green, I believe, just joined us on Slack. I'm double checking what his name is.
Ed, I think it's best if you mute your mic. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, Green Machine. That's what his name is. Green Machine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let me see something here. I used to have the controls where I could do some stuff, and then it disappeared on me. But yeah, Ed's gonna chew his kids out. So we'll see what happens. So welcome to the people who are in the chat. We'll see if people start showing up. Wow, I have no idea what that sound was, but that didn't sound pretty.
No, it didn't. No, that's all I'm listening to right now. It's just that.
Read that ass. Read that ass.
No.
I have no idea. What the hell? Ed, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
We have no idea what happened, but through the freaking podcast, it literally sounded like you beat the shit out of somebody. That was crazy sounding.
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we dead ass heard. And I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, I may be going to jail because I might end up killing my son here in a minute.
It's a murder.
Oh God. Oh shit.
10 years old and he acts like a 2-year-old. I love it.
Cody's figured it out a little bit. He is chatting through his phone, but listening through his Xbox. That's hilarious.
That's basically what I'm doing. Well, not well. Basically,
he's
what
there.
I'm doing. I'm just looking at the chat through the phone and just talking to you guys.
Yeah, see, I'm on the computer talking, and when I chat, I'm on my phone. So
I'm on the computer and the computer.
Alrighty. Yes, my children are fighting over how they set up some stupid game, and
yeah, okay.
every day. Can't wait till school starts.
Yeah.
August will not get here soon enough.
And I'm hoping, speaking of when school starts, I'm hoping my Elgato over here, the HD60S, and the Surface Pro laptop that I got working will be very nice and compatible with whatever headset I decide to purchase. Will all work and not slow me down. I ran the test this week. It was funny because I just held the button down and I stopped on the Liberty, held the button down and I stopped on the Liberty again. So I was like, whatever, Liberty versus Liberty. And I let them run a quarter. And that was
RTJ.
me. Yeah, that was me running my system, just checking everything, making sure everything looked good. I thought it came out pretty clean, pretty clear. It didn't look any lag or anything. So I think that part of it's taken care of, ready to go. I just got to make sure that when I plug in a headset, it doesn't slow it down, which happened to do on the desktop. It slowed down because I would be at 60 frames per second, and as soon as I'd plug in a headset to start commentating, that would drop into the low 40s like instantly, and that's not going to work.
To let you guys know for why the game wasn't recorded live on Sunday, even though it should have been, I guess, was there happened to be a situation where I think Doug, I don't know. Yeah, I think you told me you wanted to record it. You think you wanted to do it live, but you wasn't so sure. I
Yeah, I
wanted to
wasn't
do
sure
it
about
live
that.
up until I found out from I was actually going to do it live on Sunday until I think it was just I think it was either just yesterday or probably a few days ago or something like
Either
that.
way,
I
either way,
think it
you
was
had tickets to the big three, so I
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah. It was yesterday. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I had tickets to the big three with my brother. I actually bought the tickets out of my own money. So I guess I treated me and my brother to the big three. We had fun outside of Allen Iverson not playing, which was
I saw
disappointing.
that. He didn't even play.
I was pissed off.
Screw you,
I,
Philly. That was what that was about.
I was pissed off. I'm like, what the fuck, dog? Like seriously, you made me spend like 150 to 50 something dollars and your ass is not playing. I want my money back. Well, not really because the fact that like the big three was good. Like it was good. It was just two good matches and two bad ones. And the bad ones happened to be when AI didn't play and when Chauncey Billups didn't play. So that's all there was to it.
Cool.
So. But yeah, back to Carolina and Baltimore. Yeah, we're all pretty much in agreement. Carolina turnovers killed them.
Yep.
Without the turnovers, they probably win that game. And it just goes to show, even at 3-5, Carolina is a lot better than the record shows. But I don't want to take nothing away from Baltimore because clearly they did anything and everything they had to do to win the game. Put up a lot of points yet again, which has been their forte. But they give up points. So either way, they look good. Everything for them looks good. Both teams, and we'll get into next week's games. Very interesting. Some of next week's matchups. Do that, then I'm going to cover the power rankings and everything else here shortly too. But kudos to both teams. Because I mean, both teams brought it this week. Both teams played extremely well. So.
Yeah, it was another good game.
That's three games we talked about just now, right? Sorry about that.
Just like the last one. Like I said, you and I already talked about it, Doug. I was in the mood to do some stuff this morning. So since we're talking about this game, I'm going to break it down real quick. I'm going to break the other ones down because, since I was in the mood to do a little bit of work, I'm going to. All right. In their first meeting, we all know Baltimore beat Carolina 55-45. In that game, Carolina had 546 total yards, 450 yards passing, and 96 yards rushing. Baltimore had 524 yards total, 358 yards passing, and 166 yards rushing. All right, that's game one. Fast forward to week 8, game 2 of these guys playing each other. Carolina ended up with 365 total yards, 302 yards passing, and 63 yards rushing. Baltimore had 285 total yards, 178 yards rushing, and 178 yards passing, and 107 yards rushing. So I went even further into this. If you look at it, between the two games, that is a difference here. For Carolina, their total yards, they had 181 different, and the difference in total yards because it was 546 to 365. So they dropped 181 yards from the first game to the second game. In passing, they dropped from 450 to 302. So that's a minus 148. Then in rushing, it was 96 the first game, only 63 the second. So that's a minus 33 yards. We go to Baltimore. Their total yards, first game, 524. Second game, 285. That's a minus 239 yards. Passing, they went from 358 to 178. That's minus 180. Rushing, they went from 166 to 107, which is a negative 59. So what does that tell you? Is that telling you their defenses are getting better? Does that say their offenses are dropping a little bit? What do you guys think?
I'd argue say their defenses is getting a little more better. Because, there can definitely be a big development in the team, after the first few weeks of the season. So I would say their defenses got a little better.
What do you think, Doug?
I don't know what to think. Because I just love it. I love how things change. Change is good.
Mm-hmm.
Change is good. That's why you choose greatness.
Now, that's the difference. Now I went into totals for two games. Told you I was bored this morning. I even wrote an article for the website. I'm on fire today.
I'm going to tweet that out right now. Ed was bored today.
So, all right, in two games.
What the fuck? Sorry about that. I'm playing loud. Go ahead.
All right. In two games against Baltimore, this is what Carolina has done. 911 total yards, 750 yards or 52 yards passing, and 159 yards rushing. That's in two games against Baltimore. And in two games against Carolina, Baltimore has 809 total yards, 536 yards passing, and 273 yards rushing. I'd say that's pretty damn close.
Yeah. Ed was going all out this morning. You see this?
Oh, I got all four games, buddy. So when we get to the next one, I'm ready for that too. Told you. I was in the mood to do something, and I just started writing everything down. My kids were yelling at me. I said, "Leave me alone. I'm working."
Oh, hell. It's good stuff. Well, Davis, is there anything else about Carolina and Baltimore you want to touch on?
Nope.
Ed, since you're the defensive coordinator over there, it's a little closer to your heart, if you will. Is there anything you wanted to touch on?
Both teams played their butts off, and we came up short again. That's, it happens. Ain't no reason to freak out. It happens.
Only one thing I want to point out. I don't think you're going to be able to answer this because of your position within the team, but I have to ask it.
Okay.
When you have a gold running back that's clearly good when used, when will the team step up to the point where they start utilizing said player and almost, I'm not going to say make him the focal point, but definitely make him an important addition to that offense? Because to me, he's not necessarily an addition to the team. To me, he's just the afterthought. It's like throw. Okay, we have to run for a second just to keep him on. Throw, run, just keep him on. He's to become more of a valued addition, if you will. And I know you don't want to go too much detail because that's team strategy, if you will. But it's just, I find it curious if and when that's going to happen eventually, because you're coming into to week 9, Carolina's taking on Tokyo. Okay, they're taking on Tokyo. And when you look set up right now and the situation and the standings and all that other stuff, and check those league stats for total defense. And I apologize to everybody. I think I'm 3 weeks behind now on weekly player stats. I got to get that shit right to the point where I'm about to hire somebody to do that for me and legitimately pay them if I have to. But any case, Tokyo currently in the league in total defense is near the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. I'm double checking it right now. Yes, they are 6th in total rushing defense. So this is the type of week when you want to utilize said gold, Gold, gold player. Just an opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not getting into any details, like I said, because that might give our strategy away. So,
And this could be the strategy, not using him. I have no idea. You guys have your game plans. It's just something I see when I sit back watching the games. It's like, it's a gold running back, and he's not being utilized. And it's like, and the guy's a beast. Oh, well, moving on. We will go to Boston and Tampa Bay. Boston defeated the Stallions 17-9 in what was a defensive battle all day long, which is what I figured that game would be. And even mentioned it in the prior podcast. Boston only had 264 yards of total offense in the victory, and the Stallions didn't even eclipse 200, being held to 195 yards. Neither team was able to get over 100 rushing yards. The best individual stat was 168 passing yards by the Liberty, which shows just how good both defenses played. So both teams showed signs of life offensively here and there. I said this to Ed earlier when we weren't on the air. It seems like these teams are going up this incline. As soon as they get to the top of the hill, instead of being able to get that little push over, they start to roll back down the hill. This week more so it happened to the Stallions. But I'm giving both these teams credit. Right now, both teams are ranked in the top 4 in the league in total defense. If they could find their offense, those defenses would be even better statistically. I think that's obvious, and I think nobody would disagree with that.
Can't disagree with that.
Bo hired Marcus to run things. I know the Liberty had made a mention. They hired DW6 Killer, and I believe he starts this week being the offensive coordinator. So we'll see if the Stallions can turn the page now. They've got an offensive coordinator that's going to start taking over here in week 9. And the Liberty, ladies and gentlemen, are 2-1 since hiring an offensive coordinator. So their only loss was to the Flight when they went and got shut out. Not to take nothing away from the Flight, but that was the week that they went and tried something totally different with the offense just to see if it would work going forward. And clearly it didn't. Thus the goose egg. So they went away from it clearly this week, and as you've seen when you compare the two games. But thoughts on the Stallions and the Liberty, whichever one you want to go first.
I'll let it be Ed again. Because really, I don't have much to say.
Another great game.
Yeah, that was my favorite of the week because, I'm a defensive guy. I love defensive struggles, and that was my favorite game of the week because of the way it went back and forth.
Well, like I said, time for me to break it down. Told you I was ready for this show.
All right.
First time I've been ready in a while. So, all right. First time they played, it ended up 20-14. Boston won that one as well. So Boston is now 2-0 against Tampa Bay this year. In that first game, Boston had 180 total yards, 134 yards passing, 46 yards rushing. Yeah, that's terrible. Tampa Bay had 288 yards total, 243 yards passing, and 45 yards rushing in the first game. So, yeah, once again, that's awful. All right, in the second game, Boston had 264 total yards, 168 passing, 96 rushing. Tampa Bay had 195 total yards, 133 yards passing, 62 yards rushing. So from the first game to the second game, Boston improved their total yards by 84, improved their passing games by 34, and improved their rushing by 50. So Boston improved everything from game one to the second time they played Tampa Bay. Everything went up. Tampa Bay dropped in total yards. It was 93 yards difference. They dropped in passing by 110 yards, but they did improve their rushing 17 yards. No, hold on for a second. No more cupcakes for you.
No more cupcakes for you. No. You think I ain't hear that?
Yes. We had my oldest daughter's graduation party yesterday, and my wife got cupcakes instead of a cake. So now there's cupcakes left. So now, all the kids are trying to eat cupcakes left and right.
No more for you.
That's right. Okay.
God damn this submachine gun.
So that's the difference in the two games. Now here's the totals in two games. In two games against Tampa Bay, Boston has 444 total yards, 302 yards passing, and 142 yards rushing. Tampa Bay has 483 total yards, 376 passing, and 107 rushing. That's what they've done against each other. Once again, pretty damn even.
Yeah. Those two teams seem to be very evenly matched. That's just the way it looks to me when I watch it.
Right.
David said he didn't have much to say, so I don't know if I could go and ask if he has any comments.
I still don't.
No, he said no. So let's go ahead and go to Tokyo and New York.
No disrespect, I just don't.
Tokyo and New York. I said this last week about another game. I say it this week. Who would like to watch these two teams play every week? I mean, that came down to the wire in week one.
It's funny because this is actually the one game I do want to talk about.
Okay, well then you can take it. Go ahead.
Oh man, do I love how the tide turned? Because it's crazy how I said it when they faced off the first time. I said it's gonna come a point where Tokyo's gonna want to get back at him for revenge. That was exactly the case. I mean, I really thought that at the end of the game that New York was actually gonna score, but man, was all wrong. I mean, that was just a clutch interception by I think it was Trayvon Kravitz at the end. All in all, that was a very good game, especially coming from New York when it goes to the run game, because they really did get it going in some cases with Bakley Jr. But other than that, I mean, it's typical for New York at this point. The interceptions just reared their ugly head, and this time they really did cost them. Otherwise, they could have came back and won the game like they did the first time around. But yeah, really, I mean, right now, I think Tokyo's in second place now because of the fact that the flight loss. So if anything, I'd really be on the lookout if I'm the Outlaws, because you're going to be facing them again at some point. I don't know if it's late. I don't know if it's supposed to be late in the season or it might be in the playoffs as far as we're concerned. So we'll definitely see what'll happen from there. For the New York Cobras, they just have to try to keep on pushing to even get in the playoff hunt. And it's not easy going up against these teams now. I mean, you can't even say this is going to be a cakewalk anymore. So
they slipped to 3-5.
What?
Then the Cobras have fallen to 3-5 on the season.
Yep.
They have their work cut out for them moving forward.
Fuck.
We'll talk about moving forward here in a little bit. Uh, Ed, any thoughts on this one at all, outside of anything you've already thought?
Tokyo, New York.
Yeah.
Another. It was a great game. It could have went either way, and it went the way it did. So it was good. I loved it. I mean, all week, every game this week was awesome. I could have went either way. Every game, it was probably the best week we've had. So, I'll break this down too, just like the other games. As we all know, New York won the first game 33-31. In that game, Tokyo had 446 total yards, 335 passing, and 111 rushing. New York, 503 total yards, 412 passing, 91 rushing. In the second game, Tokyo had 470 total yards, 280 passing, 190 rushing. New York had 362 total yards, 191 passing, 171 rushing. So the difference between first game and second game for Tokyo was they improved their total yards by 24. They dropped their passing by 55 and improved their rushing by 79. New York dropped their total yards by 141. Their passing dropped 221 yards. Yeah, I didn't stutter. 221 yards different passing from the first game to the second game. But they did improve their rushing by 80. So I'll let that set in for just a second. I mean, that's a big difference to drop from 221 yards in the passing game between one game to the next. And then totals for two games, Tokyo has 916 total yards, 615 passing, 301 rushing. New York, 865, 603, and 262. Once again, pretty evenly matched.
Indeed. That's wow.
It's very interesting. Like I said, when I told you, Doug, I was checking into it. I told you it was very interesting doing this morning just to see how close these teams are that have played each other twice now.
Right. Yeah, two games that they've played. Both teams had opportunities to win. Both teams probably could have won in both games. And in two games they've played, the losing team in both games put up over 31 points or more. And both games were separated by 3 points or less. So, it was 33-31 in week one, the Cobras. This one, 37-34 Tokyo. So, it's one of those matchups that it's going to be fun to watch every time they play, I think. And it might have been the last time we got to see them play this season. It all depends on how playoff picture shakes up and how they rebuild going into next season, if they're even in the same conference. Because, again, remember, we're expanding to 16. We're going to have 4 divisions and 2 conferences. And if they're in the same conference, they'll play. If not, we'll have to wait and see if they get to play each other, in the championship. But it's definitely a game I'd love to see happen again sooner than later.
And what's crazy about this 2-game series is this was the only 2-game series where it was split. One team won first game, one team won. Everybody else, the team that won week 1, won in week 8.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah,
very interesting.
And outside of that being the only game that went different, I'll say all 4 games this week were very similar in fashion as they were in week 1.
Yep.
Because, you got a 55-45 game in the Bulls in the pack. It ends up being 38-28, another high-scoring affair. 20-14, Boston beat the Stallions. This is 17-9, another low-scoring battle. 33-31, New York got Tokyo. This one, again, 37-34. and we'll get into it in a minute. But this was the only one that was different. The Outlaws were up 37-13 in week 1. This week they only won 24-20. So and we'll get to that game here in a moment. But I'll say this in this game, New York showed they were going to go away from the running game and throw the ball a little more. They had their turnovers, which we expected. But Beakley still had a good game, and they had 171 total rushing yards, despite trying to go away from the running game, which I thought was very interesting. So I had to ask myself, if they even went away from him even more than they did and threw the ball even more, would it have been enough to get him over the hump? We'll probably never know. We can just sit here and guess all day. But New York brought something I didn't suspect based on their comments to me directly and speaking with Taco. So end of the day, kudos to Tokyo for getting revenge from week 1. Kudos from New York for clearly showing they still have life. Because this was the New York team we're used to seeing, putting up some points, putting up some yards. Came up short, though.
Yeah, like I said, it was very, very good game. It was very, all of these games, first time around, second time around, like you said, was damn near mirror images of the first game. It's very crazy how that played out like that.
Yeah.
So we'll get into the Arizona Philly game before you guys get to say, talking about your, since you're the running back in Arizona, Mr. Davis is the owner of the flight.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it good enough beforehand, so
I'm going to break it down, and then everybody else will know what's going on, and then if you want to talk about it, you can. But in the first game, Arizona had 332 total yards, 233 yards passing, 99 yards rushing. In that first game, it was 408 total yards for the flight, 324 yards passing, 84 yards rushing. Second game, it was – hold on for a second. Hey! Shut up!
Damn.
I swear I'm going to become an alcoholic. Just gonna start drinking and say to hell with it.
Here, okay, just give me a shot of whiskey.
There's going to be more than one shot, I'll tell you that. Just give me the bottle. All right, the second game, Arizona had 398 total yards, 88 yards passing, 310 yards rushing. Philadelphia had 316 total yards, 110 passing, 206 rushing. So here's the differences. From first game to second game, Arizona improved their total yards by 66, dropped their passing game by 145, but improved their rushing by 211. Philly dropped their total yards by 92, dropped their passing by 214, but improved their rushing by 122 yards. Now I'll get into total yards in two games. In two games against Philly, Arizona has put up 730 total yards, 321 yards passing, 409 rushing. Philly, 724 total yards, 434 passing, 290 rushing. So once again, 730 to 724, 320. Another two-game series that, after all said and done, very even.
You deserve to get stabbed, you son of a bitch. Why the fuck was you camping? But yeah. Other than that, yards-wise, stats-wise, everything, it was all well and good and everything, happy to stay even with the Outlaws when it goes to stats and stuff, but, the scores tell an absolutely different story. You guys already saw and know what happened with the first one, so That's why I said I'm more proud of what happened in this second game because the Flight really did have a chance to win this game. They really, really did. And it's like, hey man, what else would you want me to say? What else could you possibly want me to do? I mean, the Outlaws is just a tough team to stop.
What was your
It's
question?
all
What
a
else could
matter
you
of what's
do?
going to happen next
What
season.
what
That's all. That's pretty
what
much
else
it.
could you do? What else do you want you to do? Well, I'm sure all your fan base would say, "Win, damn it!"
Well, I'll tell my fan base this. Do you want to,
Tell them, there you go. You want to own the team? You want to
that's what I'm
coach? Go ahead and do it.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I
There
mean,
you
like,
go.
it's
That's
not
right.
easy. Trust me, it's not easy.
That's
I
what you
mean,
tell them.
trying to scout a team each and every day, there's that, but there's also the fact of, well, it's just this one team that you really have to keep an eye out on. You can't. In fact, I was arguing to say it's every team. It's not.
Oh yeah,
It's not
like
easy.
I've said it from the get-go. I've said it from the get-go, from top to bottom. You've got to study. You've got to watch these teams because anybody's going to be anybody, and this league is going to be nuts.
Exactly. I mean, it's. I mean, like the Outlaws have proven it. Like, yo, like this game is not easy at all. So if they keep playing like they have, then they're pretty much going to the championship game. That is, unless if they run into the Kitsune, which it can happen. They could run into them before the championship game, and then we're definitely going to see who's going to be in the championship game. This is how I see it, though. If they do run into each other before the championship game, and if the Kitsune wins, if they beat them the second time, it's probable that whoever they face, I mean, they have a better shot of winning the championship than they would when they take on the Outlaws. Now, this is just my little theory here, but that could happen.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, Dougie, your thoughts on
It's
this?
not slight, by the way. It's not slight, by the way, at the Kitsune. It's just a simple fact of, well, the Outlaws are a harder team to stop than the Kitsune. I mean, like, maybe it's just me, but the Kitsune is just a little, well, easier to scheme against.
No. To Kitsune's credit, they have the number one offense in the league, and the Outlaws are only fourth. But yeah, getting to the game, both teams being held to 110 passing yards or less was a big shock. 206 total rushing yards was the weaker of the two outcomes, which absolutely sounds ridiculous. So it was one of those types of games when you watch it, it was just like, holy crap. If you're one of those people who love to see running, that was the game to watch. And I'm not going to take nothing away from either team. Both teams brought it. You see how good and how much improved the Flight have become since the opening part of the season when they had their early struggles. They've turned it around. The Outlaws do what the Outlaws do. They don't put up a lot of points. They win these close games anymore. So it could have been a clear playoff preview. You know, hell, it could even have been a championship game preview for all we know. Both these teams are qualified to be put in that sentence. And I don't think anybody's going to dispute that right now. So, end of the day, you know, kudos to Mr. Davis, kudos to Mr. Diggs, Mr. Savage. These two teams now get to move into week 9 and try to get, the Outlaws trying to improve on an 8 or 7-1 record right now. And the Flight are trying to come out of a 4-4 record right now and moving forward. And week 9 is going to be good for both these teams because the Flight's getting the Stallions. I think they're struggling, but not struggling. The Outlaws get to take on what's been said, the Red Hot Liberty, who are 2-1. I'm the running back for the Outlaws, as Edit stated. So it'll be cool, playing that game and watching that game since my son's the coordinator for the Liberty and he's also their running back. So we'll have some trash talk between ourselves this week, and seeing what's going on. But all in all, 4 good games this week, 4 tremendously good games. And I'm going to go into the power rankings since we pretty much covered all these games.
Yep.
And before I even mention the power rankings, do either of you have any type of prediction, if you will, you'd like to throw out before I get into it?
For next week,
Nah, for the power rankings following 8 weeks.
even though, well, I know I'm kind of being biased here, but even though the flight lost, I could see them still being around the top 5 in the power rankings.
Mm-hmm. And any
In New
thoughts?
York, I
Throw
can
out?
see. Well, not New York. I
Yeah.
could see New York possibly dropping, either staying around the bottom 7 when they might just stay around the bottom 7, or just be at last. I could see Boston actually raising up a little bit, and I think that's it.
Fair enough. Ed, any thoughts?
Nope.
Yeah, I've noticed that, Alex. They
Yep.
run 90% shotgun. In fact, I was surprised when I was looking at that game. I'm seeing plays from Ramos that I wouldn't normally see him do otherwise. Like running from the shotgun is definitely one of them. I'm like, has Ramos turned into Chip Kelly? Because apparently I've seen less under center and more shotgun. I couldn't believe it when I found this man running the ball out of shotgun. That hardly works in this game, but somehow he made it work. So
The
that's
IFL is a
definitely
different beast.
kudos to Ramos. He may have found something. Not a whole lot of people have either found it or attempted or just doesn't attempted and doesn't work.
Well, I'll touch on what you're saying right there. A lot of people are still used to what they know from other leagues. People are still used to what they know from playing human versus human. And based on the way we did our due diligence and working on sliders and settings and stars and everything else, the IFL is a totally different beast. And things that you don't suspect to work, and things you're used to seeing dominate don't. Because in this league, you don't see Swing City because if you try it, you get ate up. Swing City has not worked in this league when a few teams have tried it. That's why nobody does it. People caught on to it. Rollouts, I've noticed in other leagues, rollouts suck. Some of them
We're
work
all
in this,
stuck in general, even with human versus.
right? But in this league, I've seen them be very successful, which was shocking to me. I didn't expect that either. So it's all a matter of how the leagues, your human games, how they set their sliders, how things are worked. Some things will work in certain places, some things don't work in certain places. And with the IFL being in its first season, I'm going to say it now. Whoever takes the time to, in a sense, kind of tank a season, I hate to word it that way, but to really experiment throughout in a season, they're going to be the team that's going to be a handful down the road because they're going to experiment with all kinds of things. And that's the kind of thing Jack's Diamond I thought was doing with Tampa Bay, but it wasn't so much to that degree. But I thought that's originally what his plan was, to try anything and everything to see what works here and what doesn't. And I did see a lot of things that worked that I didn't expect to work watching some of his games because he was using some rollouts and some other things that was like, okay, I wouldn't be touching that play, and I'd plug it in the playbook for him. And then when I watched the game, I was like, okay, that kind of worked. But all you gotta do is, coaches, do your due diligence. I see some defensive schemes work better than I would have suspected. So, and it's also, of course, the team build and how you have the abilities and all that. I think all play a part. So, 16 teams next season. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes up with what, who tests what, who messes around with what. And I know there was a debate on Slack the other day. What are the most important gold players? Which positions? And again, that's all a matter of opinion. I don't think there's really a true right or wrong answer to that. So, but I'll sit here and ramble on. But I'm going to get into these power rankings. The number 8 seed in the power rankings, I don't think is a surprise to anybody, is the Stallions. They're 2-6, worst record in the league. They're sitting in 8th. So I got to get predictions out of you. I just have to. Who do you feel is sitting in 7th?
New York. It has to
Ed,
be
got
New
a
York.
guess?
Like they've been
Yeah,
on they've been
I agree.
downhill for God
I
knows
agree.
how long.
I agree. It's got to be New York.
but it is not.
Wow.
New York is not in that slot.
And who is? If it's not New York,
The Carolina Pack is in 7th.
I'd have to say GTFOH on that one. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You
Mm-mm.
hit us with the initial.
Ew.
Oh,
Ew.
no.
Ew. Sorry. I mean, like, I could see 6th or 5th, but not 7th. No, I just can't.
Well, I'm trying to come up with a reason why they'd be there and why they wouldn't be there. And here's the only thing I can come up with. Going backwards, they lost this week, as we all know, 38-28. Last week, okay, they got a 45-24 victory over the Cobras, who, quote unquote, have been struggling, as you guys were just kind of hitting at. Week before that, they lost to the Liberty. You know, the week before that, they just escaped the Stallions by 7 points, and they're the last seed in the power rankings. So I don't know what to think of the Pack right now. Are they really good, or are they not good, or do we think they're better than they really are, or are they,
Or they're just average.
What direction to look at? I really don't know, because there's so many teams in this league that are like a damn radio. They're either on or they're off. You know, and you still can't make heads or tails of it, and it drives you crazy. Okay, are they good or are they not good? And each week it's like, okay, I thought this last week, and then the next week it's, oh wait, maybe they are this, maybe they aren't, and you have no idea what to think. So look at the teams. Like I said, they beat the Stallions. They lost to the Liberty, who, and then when the Pack played the Cobras, they did get the victory. So, like I said, these bottom couple teams are really even, if you will, against who they've played and the scores and the outcomes. So, Stallions 8, Pack 7. Ed, are you shocked by the Pack being 7th?
A little bit. A little bit. I think we're better than that. And if they have New York ahead of me, I'm gonna be pissed because we beat them. There's no way a team should be ahead of you if you beat them head to head. No fucking way.
Yeah. So, all right. Number 6. Who is it?
Now it definitely has to be New York.
Ed, you agree it's New York?
I would say, yeah.
It would be New York. New York is
Yeah, that's
6.
fucked up.
That is fucked up.
That is fucked up. When you beat a team and then everybody votes a team ahead of you and you beat them, yeah, that's fucked up.
Well, the Stallions beat the Baltimore Bulls, and they're not going to be ahead of them.
Nate, give you that.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at it now, trying to figure out where the voting came in and what. I'm looking at things here. Like I said, the Pack beat the Cobras 45-24. That's the discussion right now.
But you made that stupid. You made that stupid statement because now you're gonna get me going. You made that. The Stallions beat Baltimore, but they're not going to be ahead of him. No, they're not, because Baltimore has a better record than this. But when you're this close and you basically have the same fucking record, the team that beat the other team should be ahead.
They're both 3-5.
That's what I'm saying. They have the same record. So the team that beat the other team should be ahead of the other one. That's how that should work.
Okay, then I want to know how those 3 teams should be ranked, because let's break it down, because I'm just going to tell you right now the next team in the power rankings is the Liberty. So the Liberty have defeated the Pack, so they should be ahead of the Pack, is what you're saying. They have the same record.
Right, I agree with that.
Okay, and then you're saying the Pack should be ahead of the Cobras because they beat the Cobras. Okay, fair enough. But the Cobras beat the Liberty.
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting.
So somebody's got to be under somebody.
Right. So then I guess we'll have to come down to who beat who by the most points and this and that. Then.
Well, I can give you that. The Cobras beat the Liberty 30-6. Okay. The Liberty beat the Pack 34-31, and the Pack beat the Cobras 45-24. So someone's going to obviously be below somebody somewhere. Of these 3 teams, the Liberty are clearly the hottest of the 3, and they got ranked higher. So that I can dig. I can go with that. So, like I said, take a look at the last 2 weeks. The Pack just lost to the Bulls by 10. okay, which to some people are one of the top 3 teams in the league. And the Cobras just lost 34-37 to the other team in that sentence in the Kitsune. So nothing to sneeze at for either one of those teams. Last week, okay, the Cobras lost to the Pack. So I can see how people would say, okay, put the Liberty ahead of the 2, but put the Pack ahead of the Cobras. The week before that, the Pack lost to the Liberty, whereas the Cobras lost to the Stallions. The 2 teams that many thought were the 2 worst teams in the league beat the 2 teams in question. but I'm going to say this. Does this where the Pack gets more advantage? Because the Pack lost of those two teams, they lost to what is clearly now the better of the 2 weaker teams that many thought last week.
Right.
Which could just add to your argument how you feel the Pack should be ahead of the Cobras.
Hey, that's just my opinion. But and then somebody might feel it the other way. But hey, I am the defense coordinator for the Pack, so you goddamn right. I'm going to say this is how it should be. I don't give a shit if I am supposed to have my journalist hat on right now because I'm doing the IFL. Yeah. Fuck that. No.
I'm curious, though, honestly, how many people, when they submitted their votes, really did due diligence and broke it down, this, that, and the other. Because I look at it this way, and this is where you can get the defense for the Cobras. I want to look at both sides of the coin. I just looked at how the Pack should be ahead. Now I'll give you the reason why the Cobras should be ahead of the Pack. These 3 teams are that close. And when you look at the team that's supposed to be the head of the 3, which we all kind of agree should be the Liberty, the 2 teams that are now under the Liberty, when they both played the Liberty, Cobras beat them, Pack didn't.
Yeah.
To me, that gives them justification for being ahead. But like Ed was yelling out, screaming and hollering, they beat them head to head. It's like, oh, well, can't argue that side either.
You beat a team head to head. That's how it goes. How many people have argued
that? Only how it worked. Ain't that right, BCS? But anyway.
But like I said, this is all a matter of opinion. So I'm having fun yelling my opinion. Somebody else can say, "Oh no, that's there." So hey, it's all fun.
Yep. We have to have debates. Or
Hell
what's
yeah.
the point? All right.
Exactly.
So we've got it. The bottom 4 right now: Stallions, Pack, Cobras, Liberty. That's 8 through 5. Now we get into the top 4. Who do we feel could be the 4th seed in the power rankings?
The other guy on the call with us.
Davis, do you agree you're 4th?
I'd argue that. Because before the flight even ran into the Outlaws, the flight was in discussions of being the 2nd or 3rd best team. So just because of that loss to the best team in the league, they should either stay the same or at least just drop to 3rd. Personally, I mean, yes, they gave up 300 yards rushing, but let's be honest. I mean, both teams gave up a lot of yards. It was only 100 yards difference in terms of 2 running teams. You can only imagine how much yards they really would have put up if they went up against teams that wasn't prepared for the run. So, in this case, really, I don't think it should be that much of a drop-off. But that's just me. So, by all means, go ahead. I'm just waiting to hear it at this point.
Yeah. Well, here's a defense for the flight. While the flight are 4-4 and the Kitsune and the Crabs are both 5-3, they beat both of them head to head. Could that be a fair argument?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, just curious how people think. Looking at that, I just wanted to throw that out there.
But yeah, especially Baltimore. At one point, everybody was considered an elite team, a team that was toe to toe with the Outlaws until the Outlaws proved otherwise.
Right. Right. So
there's no shame in losing to the best team in the league right now. Especially no shame in it when you come close to by 4 points, where you could have really got them in the final game.
Okay, now I'll throw this out there. This to see if this was put into consideration by people when they voted. We just had that discussion just a minute ago about the Pack, the Cobras, and the Liberty. How ironic! We're thinking the three teams here that could be fourth played those very same three teams this past week, because two of the three rather, because New York played Tokyo and Baltimore played Carolina, which are two of the teams near the bottom, where Arizona played Philadelphia. So let's think about that for a minute. Two teams improved to 5-3 by defeating two teams that are ranked sixth and seventh in the power rankings, and the one that fell to 4-4 could have won the game if one thing went their way differently in the game, because they only lost by one score, and they lost to the number one team in the league as far as the standings go. So does that get held against them? It's curious how these votes came in, and I'll give you the little drum roll. The fourth team in the power rankings is the Kitsune at 5-3, and it was very close because these three teams are very close. So therefore, the Flight fell to third.
Like I
Baltimore is 2, and
said, which is
Arizona's 1.
bullshit.
That's how
I'll be honest. No, I'm sorry. Like TJ, I respect the living hell out of you, but no, that's bullshit. That's bullshit,
Reason?
bro.
Give us your
Really?
thought. Why you feel?
They're number 2.
Well, Baltimore beat Tokyo head to
I
head,
can't.
and as we know, both these teams lost to Philadelphia.
Yeah, but
So
like that, they still get number 2. Just like that.
I will tell you now, the votes that I
2
did
straight
get in,
games they lost, right?
the
games
votes I got in. Understand this one real quick. The votes I got in, Arizona swept the first place. We all figured that was going to happen. But of these three teams, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Tokyo, I actually had all three of those teams being submitted in second. I had all three of those teams being submitted in third, and I had all three of those teams being submitted in fourth, depending on who submitted their ranking. So there's a lot of discrepancy between people's thoughts. But again, we go to that opinion word. It's opinion. And Philadelphia, again, beat both teams head to head. Baltimore defeated Tokyo head to head. This is why I can't argue this, and here's what I'm getting at. Two teams are 5-3, one's 4-4. That happens to be the team that's 4-4 is the team that beat both, which sucks for Philadelphia. But
that does suck.
But if one was going to be
what?
2, if one of these two teams was going to be 2 that's 5-3, I think the right team got put in second, and that being Baltimore, because they did get the head-to-head over Tokyo. So that's my standpoint. And Philadelphia being stuck in between them, I can dig it. I can find a reason to justify it, but I can find a reason to turn it a different way to Davis's argument. And that's the joy of this league. It's just the joy because all these teams are so damn close. I'm going to say it right now. Even though they're 7-1, the Outlaws aren't much better than any of these three teams we're talking about.
They're not, because every team can be beat.
So
it's just a matter
Cody
of how
wants
to do it.
Out. Cody Ewing wants to point out that this show is very emotional today.
I saw his comment. Don't worry. He don't got to sweat that.
So
very emotional.
I don't have much to say to
as
Cody.
of right
I mean, like his team
right now,
his team says otherwise, so I don't have a whole lot to say to Cody right now.
As of right now, if you look at the records, Arizona 7-1. Mm-hmm. Baltimore, Tokyo, both 5-3. Philly's 4-4. So if the playoffs were tomorrow, Philly's going to Arizona and Tokyo's going to Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
And for Arizona, they better hope that's the case. Because like I said, considering they beat them once, you already know come playoff time, Ramos is going to want to be ready for that. He's going to want to face the Arizona Outlaws again and stun them again. So for the Outlaws case, that might be what they want is to face the Flight.
But the thing is this. If Arizona wins every game from here on out, except for Tokyo again, it won't matter because that's only 2 losses.
That's what I'm saying. It
So
probably would.
Arizona's basically, in a way, got the number 1 seed locked. Unless they fall on their face, they have got the number 1 seed locked. So now,
Cody. I'm just letting you know. Your team says otherwise. So I have nothing more to say to you. Your team says otherwise.
Just got emotional again. Oh man, I love this place. All right, to get into week 9 because we're gonna sit here and argue these uh, rankings, power rankings, everything, stats. Uh, guess what the playoff picture and everything's going to be all day and have fun with it. But one thing we know that's going to be a fact is week 9. So we're going to get into week 9. And we're just going to go.
What?
Like
My
I said,
team's this. Wow.
It's just that.
Uh-oh.
Your team
It's getting
says
personal.
nothing.
It's getting personal.
so going into week 9, here's what we got. We have the Baltimore Bulls who are at the Cobras.
Oh my.
So that's
What was
to
that
me
again?
that's going to be the
wow.
Baltimore Bulls are at the New York Cobras in week 9. That's where this is the game.
That's who you have to worry about, Cody. Take it one team at a time.
So
Because if you worry so much about the flight, you're gonna sleep on Baltimore, and then you'll really be out of playoff contention.
wow,
So you better take it one team at a time.
the emotions are
I've
running
told you
rampant.
before. And rant.
What's going on today? All right. Now these are all rematches of week 2. In week 2, the Bulls were able to get past the Cobras 34-23. And I'll give you these quick numbers. Baltimore's got the number 3 overall offense. New York's got the number 5. Passing offenses, these teams are number 3 and
Yeah,
number
so it's
4.
best you stay that way if you have no control. You can
Baltimore's
only
3.
talk.
Baltimore's 3, New York's 4. And in rushing, Baltimore's got the 4th rushing offense. New York's number 6. As far as total defense goes, the New York Cobras are 5th. Baltimore is the last ranked defense in this league, which is another argument to why they might not be deserving of the number 2 slot in the power rankings. Passing defense, the Baltimore Bulls are dead last. I'm sure the New York Cobras are licking their chops on that one. And the Cobras have the number 1 pass defense in the league. And as far as
Which is
rushing
bullshit.
defense, and as far as rushing defenses go, these two teams are 7th and 8th. The Cobras being in the 8th spot. I'm going to point out that last rank passing defense. I have to touch on that because
Wait, who has it now? Last rank?
the last ranked passing defense is Baltimore. And
Yeah,
we
okay.
know that's what the Cobras are trying to go back to. That's what was the rumor was. That's what they were kind of spitting out. We kind of seen some of it this week, but they really laid in on Beakley.
Oh shit!
It's funny because I just left yesterday, asshole.
Oh shit!
Cody's out of control right now.
Just got personal, folks.
Yep,
Just really
got
emotional.
personal. Yes, it did.
Really emotional. But in any case, staying on track here.
I'm the one getting emotional. You're bringing up personal shit that really has nothing to do with me.
We're gonna stay on track. We'll talk about the game.
So
No,
you
you-
changed your
where-
tampon, mangina.
Oh,
Now top that one.
Please,
But we'll get on the game here. Bulls, Cobras. I'm gonna say it now. Either team's got a shot at winning this game. It's gonna be very interesting. The Bulls are going to have to adjust. They're going to have no choice with the way their passing defense has been dead last, going up against one of the teams that love to throw the football. And it wasn't until they went away from the passing game and tried to lean more on the running game, they slipped into passing offense. If they'd have stuck with what they were doing from the beginning, I firmly believe they'd have the number 1 overall passing offense in the league. So if they don't make any changes defensively to stop the passing game, they will lose. That's my opinion. If they make the proper adjustments, I think they're the overall better team. But even while being the overall better team, they will lose to the Cobras. They don't make that adjustment, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree with that 100%.
The exact same can be said for the Cobras as well. When it goes to their running game, Baltimore proven that they can not only run the ball, but they get passed too. But really, I think all they really got to do is just run the ball. I mean, give the ball to that running back. He knows what he's doing. He will. Hey, I said it last week. He will get by people. Give him the ball. Don't argue with me. Just give him the ball. That's it.
Yeah, but 100 yards really ain't that special.
It's not that it's not special. It's the impact that he brings to that is the impact that he brings to that offense. It's because of him being there, trucking the living hell out of people, possibly converting third downs as well. Is that it opens up the offense more for Baltimore, especially when you got that quarterback over there, and when TJ speaks, he's gonna take advantage of that. That's why I said just give him the ball, let him, let him open it up.
No, he didn't just compare you to that guy.
What?
Oh shit.
Okay. Well, here's the difference.
He just called you Skip. He just called you Skip Bayless.
Here's the difference between me and Skip Bayless. The difference between me and Skip Bayless is that I'm not delusional like Skip Bayless is. That's first off. Second thing is that I don't cheer for two teams. I don't go on one hand and cheer for the Patriots and then next cheer for the Dallas Cowboys. Two teams, which in this case, three of us here either absolutely dislike and despise, or in this case have no choice but to respect. In my case, would be the Patriots and not the Dallas Cowboys because they haven't done shit. And they're definitely not going to do shit this season, especially after what you just saw with Zeke Elliott and their defense. So that's the difference between me and Skip Bayless. There you go.
What about Zeke? What about Zeke Elliott?
He needs to be suspended.
Yep, he's going to be suspended.
Okay.
So
for what?
So much for that.
For what?
He was in a bar altercation again last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he also has other issues that have yet to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm going to call it right now.
First off,
he's a cowboy.
But I'm Skip Bayless. Okay.
First off. Hey.
First off, what?
There was no arrest made in that bar fight.
Yeah.
He is not a suspect in the bar in it at all.
Well, you saw a new story.
I was just reading
NFL.com. It's still under investigation.
There's nothing going on.
It's a problem. The simple fact that he was involved in it.
I was just reading on NFL.com that everybody obviously was sent home, but no charges yet. The things are pending. I just read it.
Yeah, I read it earlier this morning too. They said he has nothing. That he's really not. He was there. There's really nothing else to say.
Let's see. What's this article say? I'm bringing up another one. In a statement by Dallas police confirmed alleged assault occurred at the bar. Elliott was in attendance. We know that. Did not list any potential suspects. Elliott has not been arrested. Melinda Gutierrez states that while there, he's not being held as a suspect, but he's not being ruled out yet either. Further comments being withheld till investigation is complete is basically what they're saying.
Yeah, no, but there was nothing. There was no, like I said, there was really not. Nobody was arrested. Nobody was detained. Everybody was sent home. There was really no paperwork done. A little bit, but nothing. I mean, there's nothing to this story. And then right away, everybody, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
But sure, I'm Skip Bayless. Okay.
But I'll say this.
How much more bet that Skip Bayless is going to defend this the next time I watch?
Well, I'm going to say this real simple.
How much?
Because he's a Cowboy, or if he'd have been a Patriot, I don't care what anybody tells me. If you pay attention to the league, those players get a lot more.
They get a lot more media attention. That's the fact.
Like
and the reason why it's more so on the Patriots because of the fact that they're a fucking dynasty, as much as we hate to fucking admit it. And because of the Dallas Cowboys, simply because of the fact of one guy saying that they're America's team when they're not even close.
And then you got domestic violence thing on Zeke too. It's one too many things that add up to make the kid too innocent for me.
Exactly.
And for his sake, because he's a hell of a talent. To me, regardless, he's got to make better choices. He's got to find better friends. He needs to realize He's a very big figure, not just in sports, just in general. He's a good-looking kid. He, like I said, he's got all the talent in the world. He's making money. He's going to attract assholes. He's got to learn to stay out of the light unless he's on the field. Live his life right. Get his shit right.
He needs to be by his buddy Dak Prescott. I've not seen Dak Prescott outside of what happened with the autographs. There's not been one incident with Dak Prescott.
He's going to have to join the Cowboys. Because, I mean, it's already been speculated he's going to be suspended for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Should be longer.
Because of the other shit. That has nothing to do with last night. You add last night to that, that's just going to give the league all the ammunition they need to say, okay, you might not have been charged, but you're still out there doing foolish shit. And they're going to hold that against them to the current things they're dealing with. So that's pretty much put the final nail in the coffin on that stuff.
and yet, as far as the other stuff goes, there's no proof that he's done anything.
Well,
it's not the fact that there's proof when it goes to Goodell. It's the simple fact that, first off, he was involved in most of the conflict so far.
That's what's fucked up. If he gets accused of something and you can't prove that he did it, then as far as I'm concerned, he didn't fucking do it.
But you also know how the NFL rules are. They state whether you do it and or not do it, you need to make better choices of where you spend your time.
I'm not going to argue that.
That has to go on. He's fully responsible
and he's
for the
involved.
shit that he's doing.
Regardless, he's involved. Whether he's directly involved, he's there. And that's what they'll hold against him. He can be as innocent comes. But that's what's going to get held against him. He was a part of the situation.
That's coming from Goodell. He don't give a shit.
And that's why I feel bad right now for Deontay Foreman. He's gonna get caught up.
Yep, he is. He keeps doing this shit. He's gonna eventually get caught with something fierce. So, like I said, he better follow his boy Dak Prescott. Stay out of any further trouble. Don't be like your defense right now, who's getting caught with DUIs and other dumb shit. He's also suspended for 4 games. I believe Noah Carroll caught 2 games. I don't know if I'm right on that. Or maybe he didn't get caught with anything yet when it goes to the NFL. But I'll tell you what.
Boy,
you keep doing this, the Cowboys fans is actually going to want you going.
And I'm going to say it again. I don't give a shit if there's no quote-unquote legit direct evidence on anybody. But when you have a constant, trail of you're involved in something somewhere, an allegation somewhere, you're not innocent. Somewhere you're a piece of shit, and somewhere you fuck up. But then again, let's put it this way. Cody says no proof against Brady. You saw what happened. I saw all the proof in the world to prove that he did something because the New England Patriots' own coach threw him under the bus, basically implying.
Oh, that's what I say. Hell yeah.
His coach came out and said he did that shit. He admitted he did it by saying
that's right.
He did that shit. Not me.
Belichick come out and said, I know nothing. I don't. That's on Tom. You talk to Tom. So, yeah.
New England's franchise made it perfectly clear only 2 guys touched the footballs. The equipment guy and Brady. And I don't give a shit. There's only 32 jobs. There's only 32 jobs in the world that are available to be a professional sports football team equipment guy. And there's no way in hell that guy is going to play with the football. Okay? And let's just say for sake of argument, and this is all the proof in the world I need to show me Tom Brady was a piece of shit. If the equipment guy altered the football in any way, shape, or form, Tom Brady is a professional quarterback. He's going to feel the slightest change and say, what the fuck is going on? And if he didn't, he's still a part of the problem that came by allowing it to go down, which in the court of law makes you an accomplice. And that's what it is. He's guilty, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Can't be disputed, cannot be argued, cannot be debated. And if you try, you're a fucking idiot.
He was guilty.
That's why I said I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's just say the equipment guy did it. Brady allowed it to happen, was okay with it, and stuck with it, which made him an accomplice. Period.
And that's the difference between Tom Brady and Ezekiel Elliott's situation. There you have it, Cody. There you have it.
But let's get back to IFL and not NFL, because I would love doing shows with everybody where we just talk NFL, because we can do that.
You got it, dude.
But I think we're all in agreement. of the fact that New York has a shot at winning if Baltimore doesn't make that little bit of change. And if they do, it's Baltimore clearly the favorite. So, all right, another game from week 2 that's replaying this week. You have the flight at the Stallions, which will make this a good game. Getting into the numbers for this game, in total offense, you have the 6th and 7th ranked offenses, flight being 6th. In passing offense, you have the number 5 in the Stallions and the number 7 in the flight. And the Stallions have the 7th rushing offense, while the flight are number 1 in the league. As far as total defenses go, you're going to love hearing this again, Mr. Davis. Last week, you were the number 1, number 2 defenses going head-to-head. This week, it's now the number 2 and number 3 defenses going ahead, because the Stallions have the 3rd defense
You
and the
told me
flight have
different.
the 2.
You told me different.
Passing defense, the flight are number 2 in the league. The Stallions are number 4. And rushing defense, the flight are 7th. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I understand they're 7th, but
Okay.
you realize they just put up 300 yards against them this week, which makes that number look worse than it really is. While the Stallions are ranked 3rd against the rush. So you got, I'm not going to take too much, into that 680.
I'm still gonna somewhat call bullshit because it was only 100-yard difference in that game. I mean, yes, Doug Post put up 300 on us.
Yeah.
But we also put up 200, and they get to stay almost exact at the exact same spot. How?
It's a 104-yard difference. And here's the thing, 104-yard difference. They are only 138 yards behind the Outlaws in total rushing right now.
But sure, that requires a 7th place rating. Okay.
Yeah, because the Outlaws have given up 547, the Pack 547, the Stallions 578, the Bulls 581, the Liberty 616, the Kitsune 619, and the Flight are at 685. Okay. They're below everybody. The only team worse is the Cobras at 774.
Okay.
So that's why I said you can't take too much stock into the number because of how close they are. Like I said, 547 to 685 isn't too much of a gap, especially when you consider 300 yards came in one game. So, it is what it is. And that's the first time the Outlaws decided to run the ball the way they did. Unfortunately for the Flight, it was against them. So that kind of screwed their numbers up a little bit. So, but Ed, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to go to you first because we know Davis has a lot of heart into this game and a lot of emotion in this game. It's his team, so I'll go to you first. Stallions, who have a solid defense. There's no question. They're number 3 against the rush. They're going to go up against this running freaking monster of the Flight. Do they have enough to get past the Flight? Ooh. Ed's silent. He's thinking.
No, he's probably arguing with
I'm
his
dealing.
kids.
I'm dealing with the whiny.
That's what I'm saying.
We called him whiny.
You're not getting another cupcake, and quit acting like a 2-year-old. You're 10.
Oh man. Well,
and I think Philly's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'd put my money on them as well.
Yeah, I even with that number 3 defense against the run, I still don't think it's going to be good enough to stop what Chris is doing with that running game. I don't.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. Stop messing with Drew.
I will say it as well, that the Flight is too strong right now. All your money's got to be on the Flight, but I'm not going to ever count a team out. Stallions could stun. The Stallions have stunned before. They beat the Bulls. But smart money's on the Flight on this one. So, Davis, I'm going to go to you. This is your game, your team. And I know you don't want to say too much because you might end up letting Jackson Hyman know what to do, because playbooks are due tonight except for yourself. And Stevie, since your game was yesterday, he's got until the end of tomorrow to get your books in.
What more? Well, honestly, what more would I have to reveal? Everyone pretty much knows what I'm going to do. So really, if anything, all I know is this. I'm going up against an entirely different Stallions team that I went up against earlier in the season. That's all I have to prepare for. and that's all I have to worry about right now.
There you go.
And I think what the Stallions know in the back of their mind is that I'm gonna want to get a win back after what just happened to me. So I hope they know that I'm gonna be coming for that ass. You know, point blank. Period.
For that ass, huh?
And so that is all.
It's going to be a interesting game to say the least. Like I said, Stallions have played very good defensively, very very good this week. This week they gave up 96 rushing yards to Boston, who've clearly tried to make running their forte. Obviously, they don't have the running game Philadelphia has. I honestly wonder, will the flight get over 200 rushing yards? I mean, that to me, that's going to be the key. That's going to be the key. I mean, like I said, I'd put all my money on the flight, bet the house on the flight. I'm not going to count the Stallions out, but like I said, if you guys come in, run the ball, get 200 rushing yards, it's probably going to be a victory. But I wouldn't be surprised if it only takes 20 points to win this game. And that has a lot to do with, like I said, their defense and the fact that the flight run the ball, they eat up clock, they do drives. And look at the points that you guys scored outside of that 50 burger you put up. You guys aren't a high-scoring team. You eat the clock, you chew teams up, you wear down defenses, which is why I love watching it, because that's the kind of football I like. So it's good stuff.
All right. Well, I unfortunately have to jump off here because I have got to start dinner and do a couple other things. So
okay,
we shall speak.
All right.
We're nearly done with this anyway.
Yeah. So
cool.
All right. Got 2 more games to cover.
All right. I have to go deal with these children, and I got to start cooking supper. So.
All right.
3:41 p.m.
Got to do. We'll get into these final 2 games, and we'll wrap this one up.
All right, guys. Later.
The next game, you got the Carolina Pack. They're at the Tokyo Kitsune. That game ended 31-23 back in week 2 with the Kitsune. Coming into this game, total offense, the Kitsune and the Pack are ranked number 1 and number 2 in the league. This is the number 1 overall and number 2 overall offenses in this game. They are the number 1 and number 2 passing offenses, but they're flip-flop. The Pack have their number 1 pass. The Kitsune is number 2. And when it comes to rushing, the Pack are 5th. Tokyo is 3. Total defense, the Pack is 6th, and the Kitsune is 7th. Passing defense, they are 6th and 7th again. The Pack are 6th, Kitsune is 7th. The rushing defense is where it shows its most. Kitsune are 6th, and the Pack are tied for 1st. We know Kitsune has been leaning on Wilcox a lot. All the momentum right now, I believe, is in Kitsune's lap. They have the opportunity to come in. The Pack are coming in off a loss. Kitsune's got a big victory over the Cobras. Last week, the Pack was able to defeat that same Cobra team. Kitsune came up short against the Bulls. So I asked you there, Mr. Davis, can the Pack turn it around this week against the tough Kitsune team before it's too late? Because one or 2 more losses might mean the end of the season for them as far as playoff picture.
They can do it. I think they can do it. I mean, I think now is about the time for the Kitsune to get hot at the right time. And I will say this, those plays that Ramos was doing, I hope he takes those off, because those are the kind of plays that are going to cost him in the long run. That's pretty much all I can say. I mean, that wasn't the Ramos that I was used to seeing. When I was the defensive coordinator back then, when before him, he wasn't calling those kind of plays. So I'm hoping that now he can, he realizes that, okay, these plays don't work. These plays clearly don't work, even though I won. Just, change it up a little bit. But other than that, I think for Ramos, he can get it done.
Yeah. I can agree with that. And I'll say the same thing, about this game as I did before with other games. As I mentioned earlier, Baltimore doesn't fix the passing defense, I can see them losing. When it comes to this game, I think strongly right now, say if Carolina runs the ball, like I think they can. Now, this is just a guess. They're going up against the sixth-ranked rushing defense in the Kitsune. They have a gold running back who they have not really 100% utilized, which is evident when you look at where you're at in total rushing, and it's fifth. Only 818 rushing yards on the season. I look at that and I'm like, there's an issue there. And as far as I'm concerned, if they run the football this week, they're going to beat the Kitsune. If they focus on the run, I think they'll win. Again, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not. I just have that hunch that I think that's what they need to do, run the football. And if they run it, they'll get the win. Just what I think right now.
I fully agree, actually.
All right, well, I think we pretty much covered that one then. So we'll get to the last one. And that's a replay, a rematch of week 2 where the Outlaws beat the Liberty 34-6. This time it's in Boston. When you look at the stats and the numbers, things are interesting. In total offense, you got the 4th offense in Arizona. Boston is dead last. In passing offense, Arizona is 6th. Boston is dead last. In rushing offense, Arizona is number 2. Boston is dead last. In total defense, Boston is 4th in the league. The Outlaws are number 1. So touching on that, 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3 in total defense this week. In pass defense, the Outlaws are 3rd. Boston is 5th. And in rushing defense, Boston is 5th. Arizona is 1. So based on numbers, you can see Arizona's head and shoulders better offensively and defensively. But Boston is hot. They're 2-1 the last 3 weeks. 2-1. And you take a look what the Outlaws have done. They come off with that 24-20 victory this week over Philadelphia. Last week, they had the game against the Stallions, which was a 27-10. And in week 6, that's where they had their loss, 24-23 to the Kitsune. So both teams are 2-1 in the last 3 weeks. Do we take too much stock in Boston being 2-1? Or is it time to take a step back, open our eyes, and look at them and say, okay, maybe they could be real because we all know they've done well defensively. Now with Marcus Bose running the offense, they're finding life. But have they found enough life to compete with the Outlaws in this game?
Well, like I said, I think, well, how can I say it? I think Arizona is really gonna. I think they're just too goddamn good of a team. I really cannot see Boston winning this game. Yes, they're getting hot, but then again, you saw what happened with the flight. The flight was hot, and then they just, they lose to them by 4. So I think the exact same is gonna happen here to Boston. I mean, like Arizona, they've been hot since the season started. They only dropped 1 game.
By 1 point.
So if anything, I mean, like I hate to sound like an ass, but this is I think that's gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna have to be Arizona, clear cut winner.
Yeah, smart
Don't
money
know about
clearly.
how much, but I don't think it really matters now, does it? And now if Boston proves me wrong, then by all means, they just shocked the whole IFL world.
Yeah, I mean, the smart money's clearly on Arizona. I don't think there's many people who are going to bet against Arizona. But you'll have those because they're going to believe that Liberty will find a way. As we saw in the chat earlier, the Capones showed up and they wrote Liberty on the rise. And that's you can't argue it. I mean, they are. But if they win this game and can get to 4-5 by knocking off the number 1 team in the league, head and shoulders the best team in the league right now, it's a huge statement. So, but I'm going to get into the pick 'em. I know guys didn't get much time to vote this week, so that kind of sucks. But I'm going to get into the pick 'em. Baltimore's leading the Cobras 7-6 in the pick 'em. The Flight lead the Stallions 7-6. The Kitsune lead the pack 8-5. And the Outlaws are up on Liberty 13-1. Now, if I go take the time to take my votes off, it's 6-5 for the Bulls, 6-5 for the Flight, 7-4 for the Kitsune, and 12-0 for the Outlaws. So apparently the members in the league aren't taking too much stock into the 2-1 run right now by the Liberty and the way they've turned things around. They don't believe that they're going to beat the Outlaws this week. And as far as the game of the week goes and announcing the schedule, I will ask you this. Do we allow, which I think we should, I'm just being honest here, I think we should take the time to probably allow one more day of voting because I did get it up a day later than usual. And I'm thinking maybe let's get through the day and then tomorrow I can announce the actual schedule. Does that sound fair?
I guess, yeah, it does sound a little more fair.
Because I mean, I'm looking at the voting now. We only had about 15 people vote. Normally, we're in the high 20s to 30s, which I think has to do with the fact that I only got it up last night before I went into work. Yeah, I posted at 9:25 yesterday, so it hasn't even been up a full 24 hours, which I think is wrong. In fact, I could probably check it tonight just before I go to work and make the announcement what the schedule is and give it a full 24 hours instead of waiting till tomorrow, if everybody's okay with that.
I don't have a problem with that.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it now. Like I said, I want to give guys more opportunity to vote before we actually say who's going to be where and in what game and things of that nature. But as it stands right now, the Bulls at the Cobras have the number one vote. They have 9 votes. 5 are on the Pack and the Kitsune. 3 are on the Outlaws and the Liberty. And the Stallions and Flight have the 1 vote, and that'd be my vote.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else you need to throw out? If not, we're going to wrap this one up.
I got none.
All right. All right. Well, then for Ed, Chris, all you guys who came in the chat, appreciate it. If you haven't voted for Game of the Week, do so. I'll make the announcement before I head to work. It'll be between 9 and 9:30 tonight. Why not? And that gives you the opportunity to start preparing what games need to be recorded and which one's going live and all that. We'll get it figured out. All right. So this is another episode of Inside the IFL. I can't believe I almost said that because I was looking at something that was just sent to me. Holy shit. Anyway, we'll catch your ass down the road. Later.
Right.